Every weekend, I host a nationally syndicated radio show right from here in my home studio. I'm going to show you every single piece of equipment I use, how much everything costs, and a couple suggestions I have as well. If you're here to learn about a particular piece of studio equipment, I'm going to put timestamps down below so you can skip right to the part that you want to see. And as you're watching, make sure you leave a comment down below with your thoughts, what your studio setup is like. Do you agree with my setup? What would you change? I would love to know what you think. All right, let's jump right into my home studio setup, starting with my microphone. Clearly, the most important piece of equipment you need in a home studio is a good microphone. There's a rule in audio, crap in, crap out, where if you don't have a good microphone, it doesn't matter what kind of processing and equipment you have, it's just not gonna sound good. So you gotta start with a good mic. The microphone I'm currently using in my studio is an Octava MK319. They don't make these anymore. I've had it for a long time. It's a large diaphragm microphone. And honestly, I got lucky that it sounded really good with my setup here. Now, clearly, this microphone isn't what I'm gonna recommend, but I do have a couple suggestions of what you could use in your studio. First, and this is probably the mic that I'm gonna purchase next as I continue to build and improve my studio, is the Shure SM7B. It comes in at $400, and it's a really solid choice for your home studio. It's also good for singing and some music recording, which I do some of at home, and a lot of rock and metal singers use the microphone, so it's really, really, really good. If you've ever been to a radio studio or a podcast studio, or even just seen one on TV or movies, I'm sure you've seen this microphone 1,000 times, the Electro Voice RE20. Pretty much every radio station I've ever worked at used the RE20, and it's just kind of the standard for voiceover, for radio, for podcasting, and just audio in general. The RE20 comes in at $450, but honestly, and this is just me, I might go with the Electro Voice RE320, which is only $300. It sounds almost exactly the same, in my opinion, and also it's black, which is, really cool. Now, after all that, if all those microphones are way too expensive and you're like, Chris, this is already getting too complicated, I just want a microphone I can plug into, start recording, and start talking. All right, well then what you're looking for is a USB microphone, which I wouldn't recommend for professional voiceover work or radio, but if you're just trying to set up a Twitch stream or do some audio like that, these are amazing. The one I recommend is the Blue Yeti, and it comes in at $130. Next is what my microphone's mounted to, and that's my low-profile mic arm. This is the Elgato Wave Mic Arm LP. The LP stands for low profile, meaning that it sits really low and closer to your desk, which is what I personally prefer. Great for podcasting studios, great for YouTubers, Twitch streamers, content creators, because it keeps a lot of the hardware kind of out of your way. Now, a lot of radio stations are still using the traditional spring mic arms that kind of go up and down. They work great and they hold the mics really steady. I just feel like they're kind of bulky and big and get in the way. And also, this low-profile mic arm only costs $100, and it's solid. I love this thing. I would buy it again in a heartbeat. Next up, my microphone processor. And there's literally only one I recommend, the DBX286S. Now, if you're using a USB microphone, you may not need a mic processor, or if you're using something like the Rodecaster, which we'll talk about in a second, that has onboard processing as well, and that's fine, but in my opinion, and if you ask any audio nerd, they'll probably give you the same answer. If you want to sound professional and have that professional, crispy voiceover sound, you have to get a decent microphone processor. The DBX286S comes in at $275, which I know is pricey. It's a big chunk of change, but trust me, this is what it sounds like. It's worth every penny. Next up, your audio interface. Other than a regular USB microphone, you can't just take a pro mic and it's plugged into your computer. And in the last few years, the industry standard really has become the Rodecaster Pro. Now, I'm a poor and I still use the Rodecaster 1, but the 2 that came out recently, they're both incredible machines. The Rodecaster Pro 2 is currently selling for $700, which I know is really expensive, but it can do pretty much anything you're gonna need in a day-to-day home studio operation. If you need to record multiple microphones, you can do that. If you need onboard sound effects, you can do that. If you need onboard mic processing and don't want to buy a separate mic processor, it does that as well. When you're building your home studio, if you ever think you're going to get to the point where you're going to have more than one microphone being used for a podcast, interview, whatever it might be, then there's nothing else I would recommend other than the Rodecaster Pro. Now, $700 is really, really expensive, and maybe you want something a little bit more budget friendly. So this is what I started with, and actually started doing my nationally syndicated radio show with a Focus Scarlett Right series interface. They're really small, pretty basic, pretty convenient, but honestly, the sound you're gonna get out of the Focusrite is, again, just my opinion, super, super close, if not exactly the same to the Rodecaster Pro. Something smaller like the Focusrite Scarlett series isn't going to have onboard effects. It's not going to have onboard mic processing. But if all you need is something to get your microphone to talk to your computer, that's where it's at. And the entire Scarlett series is really affordable. They start at $120. Now I want to talk about something that I think a lot of home studio enthusiasts kind of sleep on, and that's your studio monitors. And I don't mean your computer monitors, the screens you're looking at. You can buy whatever you want. I'm talking about speakers. Getting a better, more expensive set of monitors for your home studio isn't going to make your voice sound better. It's not going to make your recording sound better, but it can ease the process of mixing because it sounds more realistic and more true to life. In full disclosure, I haven't owned a lot of home studio monitors, but one thing I can tell you is you don't want computer speakers. The ones that come with your computer are going to sound tinny. They're not real to life. There's not a lot of bass response, or they're tuned a weird way and there's too much. So as long as you go with a pair of studio monitors, no matter how small or inexpensive, you're going to be way better off already. What I'm using in my home studio is the JBL 305P Mark II monitors. They're $350 for the pair. They sound incredible. They're perfectly loud, and I sit really close to them, so even quiet, they sound really good. My only critique being is they're really deep on my desk and take up a lot of room, so maybe in hindsight, I would have put them on stands or maybe bought something a little bit smaller. Up next, the entire brains of the operation, your home computer that you're using to record all this audio. You're gonna love this next part because you can use pretty much any computer ever made to record audio. I'm being a little facetious, but recording audio at home isn't a very intensive thing for your computer to handle. So if you have anything that was made in the last couple of years, you're gonna be just fine. I have a Dell Inspiron gaming laptop from like 2019, and it works completely fine. If you're doing 64-track musical productions, you may want a higher-end machine that can handle just all that processing at once. But for you and me, what we're doing, almost any computer is going to be fine. I don't know if you technically call this home studio gear, but something that's really, really important to getting a good sound out of your home studio is acoustic treatment. Now, I don't mean soundproofing. Soundproofing is preventing sound from entering or exiting a room. Acoustic treatment is reducing or completely killing the echo in the room. Almost any house, apartment, condo, there's going to be some echo in any room in the place, so you're going to want to put up some kind of acoustic treatment to help out. In my studio, I have 8 panels from ATS Acoustics around the room. They're 2 feet by 4 feet by 2 inches deep, and they come in right around $70 each. I actually did it for a little bit cheaper. I decided to build them myself at home with all the pieces and parts, but it didn't save that much money and it took a lot of time, so I would just go buy them from ATS Acoustics. If you're trying to figure out how many panels do you need for your home studio, how deep should they be, how far spread apart should they be, that's way above my pay grade, and there's a lot of great resources online, but I will tell you, just get some kind of acoustic treatment so it doesn't sound amateur. And now a piece of equipment that's very near and dear to my heart, headphones. If you're doing a radio show from home, podcasting, you're doing a Twitch stream, you want headphones that are going to properly replicate what everything sounds like into your ears. And there's only one pair of headphones I recommend, the Sony MDR 7506s. I've been talking on the radio for over 30,000 hours, and these are the only headphones I use. They're $100. I think I've had 3, maybe 4 pairs in my career, but I beat the absolute crap out of them, and they're amazing headphones. And I can already feel people screaming at the screen saying, no, these headphones are better, and no, these headphones are better. It doesn't matter. It really is your preference. I just know the Sonys are incredible. It's what almost everyone in the industry uses, and I don't recommend anything else because you don't need anything else. There it is, my entire home studio setup for 2023, where I do all my radio shows from right here at home. If you have questions about my home studio setup here, or you want to talk more about yours or some suggestions or thoughts you have, I would love to start a conversation, so leave a comment below and we'll chat. I'm Chris Cruz. Thanks for watching. Keep making stuff.